What's up, guys? My name's Brother Chach, and I'm a local deacon in my church. I am also a musician in my church. And lately, I have been on YouTube and also on Instagram doing these teachings for the juniors, for my youth, and for the youth for the district. And so I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself today. Now, like many of you, I am born in church. My parents were born and raised in the Apostolic Assembly. My mom was a choir director, and my dad is a minister growing up in the church. And so my story begins really from a really early age. I don't really necessarily have one of the big testimony stories, just like everybody else. You know, the big testimony story where, like, you know, I was saved from drugs or from a big car accident or something, I guess you would say, super miraculous. But although I'm saying that right now, but something really miraculous did happen in my life. See, when I was born, my mom had major complications during birth. First of all, my mom had many miscarriages along the way until it got to me. But even in that moment, when my mom was to give birth to me, my mom actually almost died. I almost died as well. I had swallowed too much blood while I was in the womb, and my mom also lost too much blood. My dad was actually watching from afar, about to lose both his wife and son on the same day. So that being said, I think I want to thank God just from the very beginning of my life, because without him, without the prayers of the churches that were praying for me and my mom, I would not be here today. So that in itself is a miracle. Now, that's something to note along the way, because see, the enemy, and this is something that I want to tell you, juniors, the enemy only attacks what has potential. And the enemy knew that if me and my mom would to make it out of that hospital, the potential that we would have to save souls, the potential that we could have to lead lives for Christ. I grew up in a very normal Christian family home. My mom was heavily involved in the music ministry. And so, you know how your parents always wake up and they have music going on in the background. Maybe it's like some Mexican music or something. My mom is from San Diego, so my mom was very into big choir music, and she loved artists like Fred Hammond, Kurt Franklin, Kurt Carr. She loved, man, who's the old ones? I can't even think of the old ones. My desire is to praise you. All that kind of stuff. Oh, melodies from heaven, right? Or do you want a revolution? Right? All those crazy songs. Me and my brother actually grew up dancing around the houses and you know, listening to these songs as we grew up along the way. And that's what got us into our music ministry down the road. My mom was also a big fan of Michael W. Smith and Amy Grant. Those are maybe the ones you guys haven't even heard of, but Michael W. Smith still writes Christian songs to this day. Many that you guys may know that you sing in your congregations right now. So right then and there, from a very early age, me and my brother were exposed to Christian music. We were surrounded by it. And my dad during this time is a minister. And so I grew up listening to my dad's preachings, listening to my dad's teachings in Sunday school. My dad would not only teach there at church, but he'd teach us in our home. Now, around the age of 4 to 5, I was so inspired by my dad that I actually gave my first preaching in Ramona. I was actually a Sunday school teacher at the age of 5 or 6, and I would give little lessons to the kids there. And I gave my first preaching when I was around 5 years old. And I honestly don't know what it was about. And I honestly do not want to watch the video of that preaching, because it's probably super embarrassing of a little kid, you know, preaching in a suit his heart out about life that he doesn't even know. And so I started preaching from a very early age of 5. I started preaching and teaching because that is something that I love to do. And I'm still doing it today. So as we progressed, as we grew up, by the age of 9, I went to my very first junior camp. I sang a special song there. My mom taught me and my brother how to sing. And so I went to my very first junior camp, and I sang there in front of everybody at the age of 9 years old. just because I knew that it was a part of my life. It was something that my mom had raised me on, had raised my brother, and my brother actually played piano that day. And so a lot of people remember me from that moment, was the kid, the very young kid that sang in front of everybody at the junior camp. And it was a really fun time, and it's something that inspired me. Later down the road, I actually did not get baptized until I was a sophomore in high school. So that was around 2010, October 17th was the day that I decided to give my life to Christ. Now, it was from a youth camp that I went to, and I remember being in that altar, just jumping and sweating and praising God in that altar at youth camp. I remember the song that was playing was I'm chasing after you, no matter what I have to do, 'cause I need you more and more. Right then it hit me, the journey that I was having, the moments that I was having in my life. It didn't really matter if I failed or tripped. I just knew that I had to keep chasing after God more and more every day. And I was tired of running away from Him. And in that moment, when they said, "Hey, who wants to get baptized?" I raised my hand in that altar and I got in line and I got prayed for. And I said, you know what? I'm tired of running away from God. I want to start chasing Him more and more every day. So that's when I started thinking about getting baptized. And I believe it was about 2-3 months later in October after that camp that I actually finally did get baptized. Now, leading up, the reason why it took forever for me to get baptized, and I'm saying forever for me to get baptized, is because I was really scared of what was to come after baptism. I had some notion in my life thinking like, if I get baptized, like God is going to test me like Job. If anyone's heard the story of Job, oh man, it's like probably my least favorite book in the Bible, just because Job was a really good Christian, right? Christian during those days, a really good servant of God. And yet he was tested extremely harshly, in my opinion. And I thought to myself when I was younger, I was like, well, why am I going to be the best Christian if Job was treated in such a way? I don't think I can withstand such things. So the enemy basically told me, like, if you get baptized, I'm gonna kill your mom and dad, or I'm gonna take away the ones you love, and then you're gonna really see if you really love God or not. And it took me a while to get over that fact. I remember thinking those exact thoughts, and I never really wanted to get baptized for those reasons, because I knew that I was not strong enough to withstand those things. Now, going down the road from there, when I finally was, ready to get baptized, basically what changed my mindset and was my dad talking to me, and my pastor at the time, that was my uncle. He said, God said in His Word that He will never give you more than you can bear, right? He will let you bend, but He won't let you break. And so these are the scriptures that help comfort me in those times to get baptized, to give my life to God, and trusting in Him that, if I give my life to you, God, that you're going to take care of me, that you're going to put tasks in my way that I can overcome, that I can actually win. And that's very important to those that are getting baptized right now. God is not going to overbear you or give you something that you can't handle. God just wants your all. He wants your heart. He wants everything from you. And that is enough for Him. Now, the exciting part is when after I got baptized. So everything leading up to, I feel my baptism was almost just, childhood. It just not even really getting to know God. It was just being in the grace of God. After I got baptized, it was amazing. I became a deacon at the age of 17. I started going to Bible college. And then I started learning how to preach with more education, being able to preach with better vocabulary, better schemes, better ways to do it, and deeper studying of the Bible. And this is when it starts getting exciting in my life, because I became a deacon. And then before then, my brother actually was playing for the district choir at the time. And I would tag along with him, and I would go to the practices, not even taking my guitar. I would just go to see my brother and to learn the songs without really having any intention to go in and play with them. Now, sometime later, they came aside and they said, "Hey, Brother Josh, you've been coming to all the practices. Would you like to help us out on acoustic?" And after that, I started playing for the choir for the next 5 years of my life. And I played at conventions. I played at in Indio. I played far away. I've played in town, out of town. I've played at youth camps, and because of that, I started to play in my local church, and then I started playing guitar for Dorcas camps, and I started playing finally for junior camps in the more recent years, and junior conventions and stuff like that. So it's been a huge blessing. The music ministry that my mom has implanted in me and my brother from the very beginning. So that was my music ministry, and also my deaconship also started to take off. I started preaching in the English service. I started starting services and serving a lot more in my local church, and then began to preach at youth services. And I've recently got to preach at the Legacy Nights for Brother Chuy Nunez and the youth now. And so basically, all I want to tell you guys about my testimony, if you guys learn anything about me talking at you for 10 minutes straight, right? And I don't want to bore you guys. The enemy knows your potential, right? The enemy knows what you're going to become, and he's scared of that. And the thing is, he's going to do everything in his power to stop you from getting God's word out to others. He's going to try and stop your relationship with Christ, and he's going to try and kill your salvation. He's trying to kill you here on earth and kill your spirit here before it even blossoms. And so that's what I want to tell you, juniors, right now. You are in a stage of blossoming to God. You're in a very important stage. If I didn't have the experience that I did going into junior camp or doing junior activities, I would never become what I am today, or not even close. I would not get to experience all the things that God has allowed me to experience from playing from camps and preaching to people. But God has a plan for you, juniors. And that's what I want to tell you guys through my testimony, is that you might not have this huge testimony, right? You may not come from drugs, or your family, from this crazy story. But God has a plan for each and every single one of you. Now, the thing is, you have to stick with Christ to reach your potential. That's all I have to say about my testimony. There's so much more, but that's like the very brief description of my life in a nutshell, right? I ask that God blesses each and every single one of you. I love you guys, and I thank you guys for putting up with me for however how long this video is. But my desire is that God blesses each and every single one of you. And remember, guys, if you're not learning, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you're probably dead. God bless you guys.